candidate to be a musician. As you saw, I didn't look the part, didn't act the part, but somehow deep inside I knew it was my calling. In fact, I even declared it. Mom, when I grow up, I want to be a musician. I'm sorry, son, you can't do both. But fortunately, my parents were very supportive of my brothers and myself in following our passions, whatever they might be. Aww. So they ended up with 2 yogis, a DJ, and me. And that's me in the middle. So I started playing the ukulele as they call it in Hawaii, and then I moved to the guitar. And by the time I finished high school, I was in a surf band, a folk group. This land is your land, this land is my land, and an R&B group. I know you want to leave me, but I refuse to let you go. Talking about my girl. Well, you know, the R&B band won out. So while I was studying Spanish and linguistics at UCLA, I was moonlighting at Baby Huey's nightclub in Gardena, and with Rich Riley and the Tail Feathers. Now, I was just a humble tail feather. I only sang lead on a few songs, but gradually I sang, a few more, and there were times when his voice was hoarse, and I would sing some of his songs, or I'd even hit some of the high notes that he couldn't hit, or vice versa. And one day he couldn't make it to the gig, and somehow I had to pull it off. I somehow knew all the songs, and much to the surprise of everybody there, and especially a surprise to me, that I knew all the songs and I could pull it off. So it gave me a lot of confidence, so I actually started playing some solo gigs, just me and my guitar. And one of my very first gigs was at believe it or not, a Tupperware party. It didn't pay very well, but I learned that I could be self-contained. So I got a quick education about what it was like to be a musician and some of the incidents that happened, like, hey, play something you know, or don't quit your day job, or I hope you make it someday. And it made me think about, what is making it and what is success by my terms. So I started thinking, well, I just want to play music. I even came up with a mission statement to touch people's lives in a positive way with music. And I knew I already had the trifecta, which is the fact that I had something that I loved and that I was reasonably good at, and that I can make my living doing it. I know you're concerned about the path that my life is taking, but the lessons I've learned are worth more than the money I'm not making. I'm gonna take the time to live my dream. I wouldn't change my life for anything. Don't worry about me, I'm doing alright. Look like I'm struggling, but loving this life, and I won't die if I don't make history. I'm right where I wanna be, so don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. Despite of how it appears, I brought my drum with me. I've made a vow of opportunity. It's not your average career, but it's cheaper than getting therapy. I'm not waiting till some moment arrives. It's not the destination, it's the ride. So don't worry about me, I'm doing alright. Looks like I'm struggling, I'm loving this life, and I won't die if I don't make history. I'm right where I wanna be, so don't worry don't worry about me. I'm just doing what comes naturally. Don't tell me I'm probably doing this for free. And my existence is not measured by the things that I possess, but by the person I become. So go follow my heart. Wherever my passion leads me, I have to swim with some sharks. I'm not gonna let them lead me. And no matter how far I get, I won't be drowning in an ocean of regret. So don't worry about me, I'm doing alright. It may look like I'm struggling, I'm loving this life, and I won't die if I don't make history. I'm right where I wanna be, so don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. Thank you. Well, in sharp contrast to the optimism, of unbridled optimism of that song, I started playing next at a combination dinner house nightclub, the kind where they make dinner announcements in the middle of the songs. You know, you're doing a beautiful ballad and someone goes, "Lopez, party of 12." And I thought, you know, I don't know if I want to hang in here, but so I was kind of at a junction. I go, I can either say, forget this place and probably starve, or hang in there and see what I can learn. But one of the most important things I learned was that no matter what happens, I can get a song out of it. If you have a relationship, you get one song going in and one song going out, or hopefully one long, beautiful love song. Right? But I actually wrote a song about that place, and to recreate that scene, I'd like to bring a couple up here on stage with me here to help illustrate exactly that moment, what it was like. Do I have anybody out there, a couple that would like to come up?
Sherry and I. Come on.
This couple. Thank you.
You got this.
I'm gonna have some of your water. Let's give them a nice round of applause. Okay, may I ask your names, please?
John and Sherry.
John and Sherry. I'm going to pretend like I don't know you, but this is not a setup, right? Okay, all right. Just want to make sure nobody thinks. Okay.
Sorry.
So the first thing we're going to do, you're going to help me choreograph this next song with some sound effects.
Okay.
Okay, we'll do it together, and we'll all do it together. So, first of all, there's a sound of the cash register, which is ka-ching. Can you do that for me?
Ka-ching.
Right. The sound of the tip jar, which is ding.
Ding.
And then the sound of the blender, but I don't want any of you to rehearse that. I want when we get to that point, you'll know when it is. And I want each of you to go deep inside and find your own inner blender. Okay. It's called Johnson Party of Four. I work in one of them combination dinner house nightclubs. I got my name out in front and my picture in the daily news. I sing all the latest songs that keep the people smiling. But when I go home at night, I got to sing myself the blues. And the only kind of music that the manager hears is the ring on the cash machine.
Ka-ching!
If it ain't on the top of the pops, it's something I can't do. 6 nights a week, I gotta sell my soul to the tip jar.
Ding!
Singing tie yellow ribbon, feeling the song blue. Now nobody really listens to what I'm saying. They're too busy watching the game, trying to catch a score. When I try to sing warm and tender, then somebody turns on the blender. says, Johnson, party of four. And the only kind of music that the manager hears is the ring on the cast machine.
Ka-ching!
If it ain't on the top of the pops, it's something I can't do. And 6 nights a week, I gotta sell my soul to the tip jar.
Ding!
Singing Hotel California, the song sung blue. You know, there are many times when I was playing at that place that I knew that no one was really paying attention. So sometimes, just to kind of amuse myself, I'd throw in some off-color lyrics. Or sometimes I'd even mumble through an entire song to see if anyone would even notice the difference. So I'm going to demonstrate this technique by singing the next verse without saying a single word. And some of you may not even notice the difference. And I'm afraid by the kind of music that the manager hears is a ring on the cast machine.
Ka-ching!
You guys are good. Something I can't do. And 6 nights a week I gotta sell my soul to the tip jar.
Ding!
Singing Hotel California, brown-eyed girl, and it's just the way you are. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, you know, there were 3 main things that I learned at that Dinner House nightclub. The first one was, of course, as I mentioned, that no matter what happens, good or bad, you can get a song out of it. The second thing was, if you can reach out and connect with an audience that did not come to hear you, that's waiting 2 hours for dinner and 3 Mai Tais deep, then you can reach out and connect with any audience. And the third thing I learned was the power of improv, making up songs on the spot. It saved my bacon a few times because sometimes people would come up and ask for a request, and if you didn't know it, you know, they could get really indignant.
Yeah.
So I realized that that I had to come up with something to mollify those folks. So I'll show you how this works. So, if you'd be so kind as to, John, right?
Yes.
And Sherry. So, John, ask for a song that you don't think I know. Just something off the wall. Anything, even if you think I know it. And just any song that comes to your mind.
Neil Young, Old Man.
Oh, he's gonna know that.
I like it.
Don't spoil my stuff here. You know, that's an incredible song, and I wish I knew it. So now you can get indignant if you want. You can get mad at me if you want.
Damn.
All right. Okay, but I'll tell you what. Instead of that, how about if you tell me a few things about your wife here? This is your wife, right?
Yes.
I knew that. Anyway, so if you tell me a few things about her, and I'll make up a song instead of doing your request. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay, all right. So tell me how you met and maybe a few things about her.
We met on Match.com.
All right, wow.
Woo! Hey!
I think it was my bright green shirt at our first date that really turned her on. And it was
He's good at this.
It was definitely it was impromptu. It was just Sherry is a wonderful wife. She's an incredible mother to her son Dylan. She's an incredible chef. She's an incredible lover and friend.
And a great musician.
Gratitude attack.
Pardon me?
I'm experiencing a gratitude attack.
All right, okay. Okay, do you have a particular musical style you want it to be, since it's a song about music, rock, reggae, blues?
Oh, what that? I'm thinking about it. I think it's a country song.
Okay. It was a bright green shirt. It wandered over on so perfect, so strong. This picture on Match.com. She's an incredible wife and lover, and mother to the son. I can tell by the way you interact that you always have fun. And I happen to know, on top of that she's a very fine musician. And they make beautiful music together in every position. There's no time to change the rhyme. So I better finish strong. Thank God you two been on Match.com.
Now we know everything about
Safe. So, while I was playing at that Junior House nightclub, I started slipping in a few more original songs, and I started making the rounds of music publishers. This was back in the day when you could actually make an appointment with one, and if you knew them, you could go in and play a song. But they could be really tough. Sometimes you play a song for 10 seconds and they go, next. So I always made it a point to make at least a couple appointments every day, so that in case one of them was a disappointment, I would still have a chance of another bite at the apple. But my biggest breakthrough came from the old-fashioned, positive, organic way, nepotism. My brother Larry happened to be up in San Francisco and was staying at the same hotel as one of our favorite artists, Bobby Womack. And at that time, Bobby was already a major R&B artist and had already written It's All Over Now for the Rolling Stones and Breezing for George Benson. So Larry went up to him and said, hey, my brother's a songwriter, and Bobby kind of went, another one of these. But as fate would have it, Larry had his own magazine, and he had an entertainment magazine, and he had met Bobby's secretary a few months before, and he had just put in a free ad for his next single. So that put him up to the front of the line. And so he said, okay, I'll tell you what, if your brother's what you say he is, you tell him to come up here and show me what he's got. If I like it, I'll give him a shot. So I took a night off from my Dinner House nightclub and flew up to San Francisco, and I was waiting at the door, the studio door, a Wally Heider studio in San Francisco. And I think Bobby probably forgot that I was even coming. But when he saw some guy standing at the door, some straight-looking white guy with a guitar, a reel-to-reel tape, a cassette tape, and a lyric sheet, he figured out who I was. So he came up and he said, okay, let's see what you got. So let me see some of these lyrics. So I handed him a lyric sheet. He looked at it. It was pretty good, man. I tell you what, I'm cutting a couple tracks in here. I'm gonna be home in a couple days. Come on in. When I get back, we'll see what you come up with. If I like it, you're in. I went, yeah. So I walk in the studio, and shortly thereafter, eventually, there were the Pointer Sisters, Herbie Hancock, and one of the baddest rhythm sections ever, the Meters. And me. So I'm going, oh yeah, I do this all the time, it's acting like I belong. Yeah. Cool. And the minute I slipped out around the corner when no one's looking, I went, yes! So, they laid down some tracks on this one particular song. He had a title for it, and he sang a couple things on the chorus, and he gave me a tape. The song was called Daylight, about staying out late at night. It was something that at the time I was kind of living in a party house with my brother Chris and our roommate Gary. And we even had a neighbor that would always, look through the blinds to check out what we were doing. So it all got to be part of the song. And so I went to Bobby's house and played it for him. And fortunately, he loved it. And I was in. And the song actually was recorded, was a big R&B hit for him. And it was also recorded by many other artists, everyone from Vicki Sue Robinson to Leon Russell to Kelly Rowland and others. And it goes something like this. It's 5 o'clock a.m. The party's still going strong. There's a conversation in the corner. Beer cans on the front lawn. And the FM music is grooving. Everybody's getting down in their stocking feet. And the sleepy eyes are peeping through the window from across the street. And it looks like daylight. Gonna catch me up again. Gonna catch me up, gonna catch me up again. Those people are getting up when I'm just getting in. Ooh. It's the only time I can unwind. I swore to myself time and time and time again that I was gonna give up the nightlife, and start laying in. Oh, but you know it ain't easy. Oh, trying to say no to all my partying friends, 'cause the real set never gets started. No, it never gets started till everybody else is in, and it looks like daylight. Gonna catch me up again. Gonna catch me up. Gonna catch me up again. One sister singing. Gonna catch me up again. Gonna catch me up. Gonna catch me up again. Yeah. It's the only time me and my baby get a chance to unwind. It looks like daylight. Ooh, daylight. Gonna catch me up. Gonna catch me up. Daylight. Thank you. Well, that was the beginning of a 40-year relationship. We wrote a lot of songs together over the years, and made some travels, including the last trip we did to England where we did 18 songs. And that was his last project. But we were friends and co-writers and kind of strange bedfellows, but somehow it worked. So after that, it turned out that I got a chance to write songs for a lot of different people. So the opportunities started growing, and next thing I knew, I was getting songs recorded by people like Rod Stewart, The Temptations, Patti LaBelle, and many others. And I thought, this is really fantastic, and I was really happy that I could write songs for these people. But after a while, I felt like I was sitting in a cubicle writing songs for other people, and I kind of felt like it was kind of like losing my singer-songwriter soul. So I thought, I'm going to take a little break. I went for a 2-week stay at a holistic health retreat where we fasted for 2 weeks. And 10 days of it was water only. And after about 3 days, you start hugging trees. And you don't think about food. So ironically, I was sitting at a nutrition lecture. And I'm sitting in the back, and some guy comes up and goes, "Hey, there's a guy from India who's walking around the world, and he's speaking next door." So I slipped out the back, Jack, and went over to this room, and I heard Prem Kumar speaking about his trip around the world from India. It just really touched kind of reignited a spark in my wandering minstrel, singer-songwriter soul. And I went to my room that night and wrote a song about it. So Prem invited me to come to India for an international peace walk at Gandhi Ashram in Ahmedabad, India. So flash forward several months later, I'm standing at the door after a 24-hour plane adventure and kind of leaning against the side of this large hall, and I'm at the door and I'm going like, oh man, I can't keep my eyes open. But they had this beautiful candle lighting ceremony, and it was celebrating the fact that there were people from over 20 different countries that were lighting one single candle, signifying that we are all one. And I'm going, yeah, this is awesome. And then all of a sudden, Prem sees me in the back and he goes, ladies and gentlemen, from America, Harold Payne, singer-songwriter. Oh my God, and he said it in Hindi, in the local dialect, Gujarati, and I'm going, oh my God. And I went, and he went, that means yes in Hindi. And so does this. So I go, I start to walk up and I go, oh man, what could I possibly do? On top of it, I didn't have my guitar with me. So at the last minute, I remembered the one song that Prem had taught me in Hindi. And the song is called Jyoti Si Jyoti, which in Hindi, for you fluent speakers out there, means candle to candle. And they just had this candle lighting ceremony, so it was as if for my 10,000 song Hindi repertoire, I picked the perfect song. And unbeknownst to me, it was a really popular song, and everybody knew it. So I got like, 10 seconds into the song, and the entire audience was on their feet throwing garlands of flowers onto the stage. Wow. You can remain seated. So I'm going to do a little bit of that song, and then I'm going to do a song about the trip, the walk in India. Jyoti si jyoti jagate chalo, Jyoti si jyoti jagate chalo, Prem ki ganga bahate chalo. Everybody, Prem ki ganga bahate chalo. Which roughly translated to English means candle to candle, the light travels on. Candle to candle, the light travels on. Our love, like a river, flows ever strong. Prem ki ganga bahate chalo. I am a humble man from a village in India. I'm walking the footsteps of those who've gone before. In this road I travel on will lift me up and make me strong. So when people ask me what this journey's for, I say, if I take one step in the right direction, if I touch one heart along the way, if that one step comes to change the action, then my journey has not been in vain. If I take one step in the right direction, if I touch one heart along the way, if that one step comes to change the action, then my journey has not been in vain. Got to say it again. If I take one step in the right direction, if I touch one heart along the way, and if that one step becomes a chain reaction, then my journey has not been in vain. Thank you. Well, after that trip to India, I really had the travel bug. I mean, just the idea of putting my back to the wind and going wherever the road led me to was just something that was in my soul. And I actually started hitchhiking. This was back in the day when it was relatively safe to do that. I would go park my car by the freeway on-ramp. I'd walk over the ramp, set my guitar down, and stick my thumb out. And it was amazing. I wish I had recorded all those conversations that I had. But everything from truckers to hippies to a young woman who had a baby in her car. It was different times. But I always ended up in some really cool place, and I loved it. And there was just something about the idea of going somewhere where you don't know where you're going to end up. And almost to a person, everyone that I traveled with said, you know, I wish I were as free as you are. And I thought, wow. And it made me, you know, relish the fact that I was able to just kind of close my eyes and see where I'd land up. It's kind of like living in the I don't know. Living in the I don't know. Living in the I don't know. Exploring the mysteries and going with the flow. Living in the I don't know. The art of uncertainty is a new paradigm. Leaving all your baggage and inhibitions behind. Standing at the edge of what is to be. Setting off intentionally, yeah. Living in the I don't know and loving it. Living in the I don't know. Exploring the mysteries and going with the flow. Living in the I don't know. Oh, yeah. Living in the I don't know. Yeah, so there was something about the idea of exploring and going to far off places and visiting different cultures that was kind of informed by the town where I was raised. I grew up in, I didn't grow up, but I was raised in a town called Gardena, California. And Gardena had, at that time in particular, had a very varied multicultural background with a large Japanese American population. And a lot of my friends were the, you know, Yamamoto's, Nakagawa's, Nakagama, Fujisaki, and Payne. But I found that, you know, it was kind of like a second culture to me. And then there's part of the story that I didn't really know about until I was about 18 years old. I went down to the corner gas station, Harry's Texaco, and I ran into Harry Komatsu, the owner. I said, Harry, I haven't seen you in a long time. Where have you been? And he said, well, he'd been in France. And I said, what was happening in France? And he said, well, they were having a celebration and a parade for us. I go, what? He goes, yeah, we liberated their town from the Nazis. And that was the first time I had ever heard about the famed 442nd Regimental Battalion that was the most highly decorated unit of its size in American military history. And not only that, but their families were put in relocation centers, internment camps, or whatever euphemism you want to choose. And while that was happening, they volunteered for battle. And so it was amazing. And the fact that I didn't know anything about this, they'd never talked about it. And I had 3 of these guys on my block that were in the 442, and it was amazing. And so these guys were already role models to me before I even knew about the heroics. So when I had the chance to write a custom song about their experience, it was really a touching opportunity for me, and I'd like to play that song for you now. They were all just young kids back in 1941. big band music and baseball games. Then the war broke out and their whole world was turned around. They knew their life would never be the same. And even as their families were taken off to camp, they volunteered for battle anyway. They believed enough to give this country another chance. They did their part to save the USA. The quiet heroes who made the sacrifice so the future generations could have a better life. The quiet heroes, proud Americans, we never will forget what you have done. We never will forget what you have done. Sip of water after that. If you guys don't mind me sipping your water. Well, I found that I kind of had a gift for doing custom songs, and it kind of went hand in hand with doing improv. And so, and the cool thing about it is that you didn't have to be famous or have a record deal. It's just something that you could do it quietly, under the radar, but over the moon. And so I started doing a lot of that and putting a lot of improv into my shows. And there's something so daunting yet exhilarating about improv. There's no time to second guess or qualify. You just pour out your soul and testify. And you're willing to walk the plank, knowing that you somehow turn it into a bridge and come up with stuff that's so freaking cool that people want to put it up on their fridge. It's your inner tiger released, roaring, demanding to be heard. You push your inner critic out the window and flip in the bird. And you don't care where he lands. Ain't nobody gonna mess with your plans. Shouting from the rooftops. Hey, hey, shouting from the rooftops. You're ripping off your bulletproof vest as you enter the battlefield of ideas and put yours to the test. Shouting from the rooftops. Directly from your soul. Thank you. So let's not just talk about improv. Let's get spontaneous here. So I need a title from the audience. Right. So the way this works is that this is not Stump the Band where you come up with a title that already exists. Nay. This is where you give me something off the top of your head, something, not some great opus that you've been saving. And I'm going to make up a song right here on the spot, risking my reputation for your entertainment. So if there's more than one, I'll just pick one or put them together or something. So do we have any creativity flowing out there? We need a song title. Yes?
John said it, gratitude attack.
A gratitude attack. Okay.
Yeah, I love that.
It feels kind of like... What do you think? I got so much to be thankful for. Just had Thanksgiving and dropped some turkey on the floor. But a dog came along and ate it up. I gotta cut myself some slack. I got a gratitude attack. There's so many things that I'd like to say. Some of them, I might say, might even be here. I might even have bought you a beer, yeah. We were having a gratitude attack. I'd like to say gracias. Arigato gozaimasu. A ustedes. Everybody who's been there when I needed a friend, yeah. I wish I could have a chance to pay you back for giving me a gratitude attack. Thank you. No pressure, no pressure. In fact, after that, improvised, grateful sip of water. So, the making up as I go not only happened as far as the songs that I sang, but it happened in my life. And I just said, I think I want to take a trip around the Pacific. And it turned out that my band and my friend's band had just broken up at the time, so we said, let's take a trip around the Pacific. So we headed out, starting with a wonderful 6 months in Hawaii. Ah, yes. And before we even got off the plane, we had a gig. I mean, there was so much music there at that time, and we were playing at one of the coolest places in Waikiki, a place called Nick's Fish Market. And there was so much music, all the local bands that were really at the time of Cecilio and Capono and Kalapana and all this local talent that was just so wonderful. And to be there at that moment was really special. It was so special, we were only going to be there a couple months, and we ended up being there almost 6 months. And we said, if we're taking a trip around the Pacific, we better get moving. So our next stop was Tahiti.
Yes.
I can close my eyes and picture it now. The beautiful people and the women in their pareo cloth dresses and flower in their hair, and I never could remember which side meant they were single, or which side meant they were not. But whatever, In fact, they have a wonderful saying in Tahitian, which is "Aita pea pea." Can you say that for me? Aita pea pea. And it means, eh. You look it up in the dictionary, it says, I mean, hey, no worries, Rob. So, my friend and I were hanging out by the beach, with a croissant or a French loaf and cheese, and just kicking back and looking at the turquoise waters and going, yeah. And we were kind of traveling on the cheap. So when we heard about this copra ship, which is actually a coconut boat, that was traveling around to the outer islands, we thought, yeah, and it was, you sleep on the deck, but it's really cheap. Did I say it was really cheap? So it was kind of right up our alley. So we went down to the travel agent, and she said that she was sorry, but that it's for locals only. And we went, oh my God. We both looked at each other with this very forlorn look. And I reached in my bag. I just happened to have a copy of the Loggins and Messina album that had been really a big hit in Hawaii, but it hadn't made it to Tahiti yet. And so I pulled it out, and the look in her eyes told me that the bribe was on. So the next morning, we found our way down to what was going to be our floating hotel of sorts for the next 3 days. So we thought we better go down a little bit early. So a couple hours before we went down, and we noticed that there was these mats everywhere on the deck. And I thought, that's pretty cool, because if people are going to be sleeping on the deck and it's kind of wood, it's kind of, going to be a little bit difficult. So we kind of found a cool spot and, stood there and put our stuff down, and people started coming on, and we started getting some really dirty looks. And I think they were cussing at us in French and Tahitian. I could just tell. And so, as it turned out, we figured what was happening is that they had come out even earlier, and those were their mats that they put down to save their spot.
Oh.
And we were standing on somebody's spot. So we ended up being relegated downstairs next to the engine, where we were going to be sweltering for 3 days. And it was so crowded that if you moved your leg even a little bit, someone went like this and moved their leg to take the spot that you had just left. So we were going, oh man, this is going to be a long trip. And so as a last resort, we pulled our guitars out and started singing. And it was like the seas parted. And everybody started smiling and trying to speak English a little bit and to give us fruit and saying, yeah, come over to my mat, you know. And we went upstairs, and it was a wonderful experience. And it was then that I really realized the power of music, and that the following is always true. Music speaks louder than words. It's the only thing that the whole world listens to. Music speaks louder than words. When you sing, people understand. Sometimes the love you feel inside gets lost between your heart and your mind. And the words aren't really saying everything you wanted them to. But then you hear in somebody's song what you were trying to say all along. And somehow with the magic of music, the message comes through, right on through. 'Cause music speaks louder than words. It's the only thing that the whole world listens to. Music speaks louder than words. When you sing, people understand. When you sing, when you sing, don't you know that people are gonna understand? Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, that song opened up some doors for me, because my friend Alan Roy Scott he had this idea of, he had been on a lot of international events, and he came up with the idea of getting some top songwriters from the US to go to the Soviet Union and collaborate with our counterparts over there. So, and the theme of the event was, music speaks louder than words. So I got to go on this trip. We had Michael Bolton, Cyndi Lauper, Brenda Russell, and legendary songwriters like Mike Stoller of Lieber and Stoller, and Barry Mann of Barry Mann, and Cynthia Weil. And they're talking about how they wrote these songs on Broadway, and You've Lost That Love and Feeling and all that. And we're passing the guitar around and singing these songs. And also, soon-to-be legendary songwriter Diane Warren was on that trip. So it was an amazing adventure, and it also turned into several more of these events. We went to Bali, that was a tough gig, you know. And then the next one was to Cuba, and we had like Jimmy Buffett, Gladys Knight, Burt Bacharach, Mick Fleetwood, and all these incredible people. And you never know who you're going to meet on one of these trips. Yes, that's me shaking hands with Fidel Castro.
What?
Quién sabe. But you know, sometimes as a musician, you have to reach out in ways that are different than others. So that was a pretty wild experience. And coming back, and in between these trips, I started doing a lot of opening acts. for some of my favorite artists like Kenny Loggins, Van Morrison, Hart, Air Supply, Poco, and even Brada Is in Hawaii.
Wow.
And it was really a fun thing to be able to try to play for someone else's audience and win them over. But one thing that was kind of interesting that I noticed was that some of the people that were on a tour bus, they were, with the same people the whole time, and they'd sometimes go straight from the bus to the stage. It was like, "Hello, Houston. I mean Austin." I mean, they really almost didn't know where they were. And I would come in like the day before, like the Artful Dodger, and walk around catching the vibe of the place and cruising around and going to restaurants and thrift shops and meeting people and public transportation. And I kind of thought, I like my way better. And I realized what I knew all along is that you didn't have to be famous to lead a rich and fun and fulfilling life. I just wanted to do what I love, to touch people's lives in a positive way with music. And I was able to dance close enough to the spotlight to feel its glow, but not so close to get burned by it. I was under the radar, over the moon, and I'm not done yet. There are some walls I need to break through. If I'm gonna make my mark in this world, there's some things I've got to do. So many promises and doubting Thomases. You gotta reach down and find your own inner strength. All the sweet distractions, kind of draws a chain reaction. What we need is a call to action right here and right now. I'm staying true. I'm the one who's gotta walk in these shoes. I'm staying true to let the real me shine on through. Sing it with me. I'm staying true. I'm the one who's gotta walk in these shoes. I'm staying true to let the real me shine on through. Say it again. I'm staying true. I'm the one who's gotta walk in these shoes. I'm staying true to let the real me shine on through. Under the radar, over the moon. I can't end the show without doing this song, and I want you to sing with me. I got a bunch of singers out there. Do a reprise of this song. Music speaks louder than words. It's the only thing the whole world listens to. Music speaks louder than words. When you sing, people understand. Got to say it again, say it again. Music speaks louder than words. It's the only thing. It's the only thing that the whole world listens to. Music speaks louder than words. When you sing, people understand. Big finish when you sing. When you sing. Let's do that one more time. It sounded so good. When you sing, don't you know that people are gonna understand?